James Reese from Overtime Aerobics MMA. I'm here today with MMA legend Enson Inoue. How's things do on this day, Enson?
Well, real good, man. Really good. Here in Japan, staying home because of the virus and doing okay.
Yeah. How was that virus sitting out there? How was things out there? Because obviously Japan is a very sort of highly populated area, and I bet it's a bit strange seeing the streets are quiet.
Well, yeah. Well, we live in the suburbs of Tokyo, so it's a little bit off, and it's not a crowded city. So, the scary thing here is everything's pretty normal. So either they're doing something and they know something that the rest of the world doesn't know, or we're gonna get hit hard pretty soon because when we the markets, there's the people on the streets are pretty much moving as everything is normal. So I'm hoping they know something that we don't. That's why they're doing that.
Yeah, hopefully they're one step ahead. We've got to dive a little bit into your career then, Enson. 12 wins, 8 losses. During, for me, probably a very, very tough period of time for fighters. Fighters back then was you knew you knew you had a fight with them then, basically. I just list off a couple of the people you fought. Joe Estes, you fought twice. Royce Algay, Frank Shamrock, Randy Couture, Igor Vovchanchyn, Mark Kerr. That guy himself was a beast back in those days. Heath Herring, Antonio Nog. I don't think there's a name there that a true MMA fan wouldn't know. And you stepped in and fought them all. Obviously, you didn't win all of them, but that's not the way it goes. When you're going up against the top guys out there, understandably, you're going to lose some. How did it feel stepping in there with the top guys of your generation? Being one yourself as well, obviously.
Oh, that was good. Well, the thing is when I chose my opponents, I wasn't actually fighting in MMA to win belts or get rich or get famous. You know, as you know, back in our day, there wasn't much money, there wasn't much sponsors. It was still when I first started, it was still considered human cockfighting. So it was really different because I think a lot of the fighters going into the sport today is because, you know, it's a good sport. There's a lot of notoriety. You get noticed there, you get famous, you get rich, you get sponsors. So it's a little different for the reasons why fighters are fighting. One of the things that's clear to see is a lot of the fighters, when you hear in interviews, is they want to fight so-and-so because they know they can beat them. But back in my day, when I ever fought, if you look at the opponents that I chose, I never chose an opponent that I thought I could win. My whole idea of fighting wasn't because I wanted to win. It was because I wanted to push myself and challenge myself. So the fighters that I picked to fight was fighters that I thought would push me into that situation where I had to really dig deep and learn about myself and grow and be strong. So it was a little different. Yeah, I picked the fighters that I thought would push me to that point where I had to really dig deep.
Yeah, it was definitely no hand-picked fights in that list for sure. As I've said, they were some of the biggest names during that period of time. Obviously, I've gone back through all your fights over the years now, but the very first fight I can remember particularly seeing you fighting in was against Heath Herring. Could you talk to us a little bit about that fight? Because obviously the finish of that fight was quite a brutal end to it, really. But it was like back and forth throughout the fight. What was that like?
Okay, so that fight was the thing. I don't know if people really know this, but when I went to that fight, I trained in Thailand for that fight because I felt if Heath was going to give me any problems, it was going to be the stand-up. And I kind of look forward to maybe standing up and exchanging with Heath. So I went to Thailand. Everything was great training. Everything was good. But when I got back, I caught the I don't know what they call it in America. It's pink eye.
Ah, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I got it on my left eye, and I went to the doctors, and it was like it's really contagious. Yeah, so they told me that I had to don't touch. If you touch your eye, wash your hands. Don't touch the other eye. and apparently I didn't do it right, and I got pink eye in both eyes. So what happened with that was I was afraid my fight was going to get canceled. So I skipped all the press conferences, all the photo shoots, the rules meeting, and I just went in for the doctor's check before the fight. And I think what happened was I was trying to make it through the doctor's check when they shined the light in my eyes. I mean, of course, I couldn't open my eyes really well, and if it was bright light when I opened my eyes, I couldn't see for maybe like 30 seconds or so. So when I went to the doctor's room, I had shades on the whole time, so no one could tell. And I went in, the doctor shined the light, and I couldn't see, and I was trying my best to act normal. And he asked me how you feel. I said, good, good, good. So apparently I thought I passed the doctor's check. And I tricked them. I went to the doctor. I thought I passed it. But apparently what I found out, so after the fight was stopped, I didn't really make a big complaint because, the way it looks and the way it feels in the ring, sometimes you think it didn't look bad and you think that was a bad stoppage and you make a complaint. But when you watch the video later, oh shit, that was a good stoppage, because you don't know what it looks like from the outside. So before I didn't I thought it was an early stoppage, and I was kind of bummed. And when I went and watched the video, I was like, shit, he hit me with one knee, but he threw like 3 or 4 knees, and like 2 of them were blocked with my arm. And it didn't, when he stopped it after a knee that hit my arm. So when I looked at it, I said, that's a bad stoppage. So I was, back in the day, I was real aggressive, and I was a little upset. So the next Pride, when I was walking through the hallway, I ran into that referee, and I was upset. So I grabbed him and shoved him on the wall, and I said, man, all the training I went through, all the pain I went through to fight, you stopped that fight to fight. That was a horrible stoppage. And then he was like surprised and saying, Enson, I was told to stop the fight as any sign of danger. And I said, what do you mean? Why? He said, because they said you had infection in both eyes. So I didn't know that.
It was already a mess for the fight then.
Yeah, so I guess they're thinking of my safety. And when they saw that I had 2 pink eyes in my eyes and I couldn't see, I think they told their referee, or not think, they told their referee to stop the fight at the first sign of danger. And if with that in mind, then he stopped it at the time he was told to stop it. So I just released him, said, man, I didn't know that. Well, and that's when I found that out. And I was always wondering, next time I see Heath, I want to ask him if he ever got any pink eye in his eye after the fight.
Yeah, for sure.
It's highly contagious,
Yeah. Obviously it's a lot more medically known about now as well than what it was back then, obviously, because with the research and things. So it'd be interesting to see his reaction to that.
Yeah, but that was a good fight. I really liked that fight because before that fight, I already decided, win or lose, I was going to retire, because the fight before that, in my Igor fight, like I told you earlier, my fights weren't about winning a belt. It was about testing myself and putting myself in adverse situations that would make me grow as a man. And I felt that the Igor fight was a fight that I don't think there's another fight that could be more severe than that would teach me more about myself. So I felt like the Igor fight was a fight that really, I had a swollen brain, I had a perforated eardrum, broken jaw, broken finger, and a liver that count 2,000 times the normal man. So my liver was about to shut down from all the toxins from the punishment. And I didn't really, the fear didn't take over my mind and my spirit. I was still strong. If you watch the Igor fight, after the second round, when they stopped the fight, I was screaming, no, 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 because little did I know I was physically gone, but spiritually I was on fire. I wanted to fight. So I didn't think there was any more punishment I could take in the ring that could teach me more about myself. So I thought, that was extreme. I passed the test. I'm done. So I already decided before that Heath's fight was going to be my last fight, win or lose. But it was very interesting because I thought I learned all about myself, but getting pummeled by Igor didn't break me. And in that fight, you notice that Heath got me in a keyhole really, really early in the fight. He got side control and he had my arm, and I'm not a flexible person. So the way he was turning my arm, it was already popping. Yeah, the shoulder and the elbows are popping. And it's funny because if you see, there's dialogue going on between me, Heath, and the referee during that
Yeah, I was
fight.
going to ask you about that because I mean, obviously, for me, that was a thing that actually drew my attention to you as a fighter. I mean, I can remember seeing you. I mean, you was in that for a good length of time, and you just there was no, you could see there was just no thought of quitting. You know, it was going to have to be a case of either he was broke or the referee was going to stop it. You could just see you wasn't intending to quit whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that is, I have this ability to, during training, I create a mindset where I'm ready. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die in that fight. I write messages to people that I really care about before I fight. In case I pass in the fight, they pass it out to those people. So I'm really, in my heart, I'm ready. I'm ready to die. Yeah. So if you really think about it, getting your arm snapped or getting choked out unconscious is really not something that will bring me to the fear point of giving up. I was ready to die. Okay, broken arm. I'm still alive. I can still fight. So when he was cranking the arm, I remember him screaming at the referee and telling him that it's cracking, stop the fight. And I remember looking at the referee saying, no, I'm okay. And then Heath turns to me and starts appealing to me. I'm going to break your arm. It's cracking. I'm going to break it. And I remember telling him, if you can break it, break it. And continued hitting him in the back of the head, with my other arm that was open. So
just for a bit of gentle persuasion.
That was the dialogue that went on with me and Heath.
Oh, that's absolutely crazy. I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, for me personally, as a fan over the years, it does seem to be that a lot of that mental toughness has changed now compared to back then. Are you still much of a follower of modern MMA? Is there who are the sort of people that you look at now when you think they could have actually hung with the guys back then?
A lot of them. The thing, you look at the fighters today is a lot different, because they're more athletes and sportsmen now.
Yeah.
And I can really confidently say over 50% of the fighters that are fighting today would not fight back in the day when the sport wasn't really understood. The sport didn't have weight classes. The sport didn't have any rounds. The sport had less rules. I mean, even less than Pride. Pride already had really very little rules. And, people, you got to understand, the people who fought during that day wasn't sportsmen. They were martial artists. And we were in there to test ourselves. That's why you see a lot more, people faking injuries. You feel a lot of people picking fighters that they can beat. You see a lot of people, tapping out as soon as they're in a bad position. It's because they're in a sport. They're thinking of staying uninjured, fighting another day. And it's a little different mindset. When we were fighting, it was about being a martial artist and putting yourself to the extreme test and willing to break an arm, lose consciousness, and some of us even die. And when I see it today, it's a lot different. There's this pros and cons to it, but if I had to pick fighters that I could see that would make it easily, and back in our day, was like, some guys like Khabib. One that comes to mind really fast is Khabib.
Yeah.
That guy's a martial artist, 100%.
Yeah, a very durable fighter as well, and he. I read something online recently, and I'm not sure the accuracy of it, so I wanted to bring it up with you and just to get clearance. Obviously, you was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and I read somewhere that you demoted yourself to purple after a period of time as you felt Brazilian Jiu-jitsu had moved on. Is there any truth in that?
Yes. After 10 years of not doing any jiu-jitsu, I decided to, for exercise, just to get back in, and my mobility got bad, my flexibility, my understanding of jiu-jitsu was really not up to par. So when I went back into the mats and I started sparring with my own black belts, the guys who I trained and who I taught and I gave black belts, I had a real hard time. So I had a hard time passing their guard. They were passing my guard like butter. And when I went, and the purple belts that I sparred with in my jiu-jitsu class was the ones that I was having the pretty up and up. Sometimes I would pass. They would pass my guard. I'd get back. I'd get my guard back. It was a roll up and up. So I assessed my level as a purple belt, and I wasn't planning it to be any big news or any international affair. It was a thing within myself. So I figured I'm gonna start put on the purple belt and work my way up and start training and start learning as a lower level. And I trusted my students' judgment on my level, and I told them that if you feel like I'm a good brown belt now, tell me, I'll put on brown belt. Then if you tell me I'm back at black, I'll put on my black again. So that was my whole idea, and I just decided to put it up on Facebook, just document it and put on my purple belt. Had my girl take a picture, and then I just put it up that I'm gonna go start at purple, work my way back up. And I wasn't intending to enter any tournaments or anything else. It was just a personal journey for me, that I didn't feel that I was respecting jiu-jitsu by wearing a black belt at the level that I was, wanted to put myself back at purple and work my way back up. I wasn't in no way saying that I was a John Lewis black belt. I was never changing that. I was just going to temporarily be purple, and then when I get my black belt, I'm black again. They wouldn't change who gave me my black belt. It'd still be John Lewis. But I wrote that on my Facebook, and wow, the next day it was like I realized that it was like huge news from all over the world.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is in this day and age in particular, a lot of people wouldn't be humble enough really to actually admit that their level had dropped, and it would be something they'd fight against. Whereas you actually embraced that and said to yourself, well, I want to prove myself. I think that's a bit for me that sticks out more, that you was willing to admit that your levels wasn't there, so you dropped yourself down to actually get yourself better again.
Yeah, it was interesting because I got a lot of reactions. I got a lot of I think majority, maybe 80% of people were super supportive of it. But I got some real, guys that, I'm the last one trying to get like notoriety. I'm not trying to get my name up, or I'm not trying to get publicity out of anything. And there were like 2 or 3 guys that commented on it and said something like, that's a fake. He's just trying to get his name back in the sport, and pretty much very negative views on it. And it was funny because when I really looked at all the guys who had that view on it, without even knowing who I am, they accused me of being fake and trying to get my name out there again. I looked at it, and it was funny because it was all guys that are old school guys that don't spar anymore.
Yeah, the very people that were threatened by what you did.
Yeah, so I think they felt like it was like a personal insult, almost like me saying, which it had nothing to do with anyone else but myself. But I think they took it, they felt like it was a stab at those people, saying, hey, if you guys not in the mat sparring with your students, you're not a justified black belt, which I wasn't saying, But I think those people took it personal, and I noticed it was all the guys that probably weren't sparring with their students anymore.
Yeah. You tend to find them people come out really, don't know, when if someone feels a bit threatened by something you do, instantly they just attack. And I think anyone that's sort of followed your career anyway would know that you're the last person looking for publicity. It's not something you really did through your career. You wasn't a guy to really stand there and look at me.
Yeah.
You was just more interested in going in, having a fight, and getting on.
I put it on my Facebook. I didn't put it on any MMA news. I didn't ask for any interviews. All the podcasts and all the interviews came to me after that. I did not think it was going to be like that. I thought it was my just my Facebook page, just putting it up and be part of logging my personal journey.
Yeah. Something I want to move on to. Obviously, you're quite known for doing quite a bit of charity work. I think is a couple of times a year or every year you go to Northeast Japan and help the victims from the tsunami that happened there. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. When the first tsunami first hit, I was real active. I was going up to the evacuation centers, helping with the cleanup, driving back and forth. I think it was about a 6 hour drive up to the North Japan, and I made a lot of trips up there with my personal money just for what I wanted to do, and went up there back and forth, and it continued until today. I think we're on our 57th mission up north. I've been continuously going up there, and currently we're still helping out an orphanage up there, bringing shoes. We buy every year. We buy new shoes for all the orphans, and there's I think there's how much? There's 80 something orphans. Yeah? There's 88 orphans. So of course, buying 88 shoes at one time is kind of hard. So we kind of break it up into segments. We break it up into 3 to 4 trips a year, covering like if we go in April. It's like January, February, March, April. All the kids that have birthdays in January, February, March, April, we get the shoe sizes from the school. Of course, every year it'll change. We get the shoe sizes. We get their recommended what color they like, and we try to find. Oh, actually, in fact, we do find get the color shoe they want, and we bring it up to them. And we present it to them with birthday cakes every time we go up. So we're continually doing that. Up until 3 years ago, we were going to a temporary housing, bringing supplies, water, essential supplies to them. And unfortunately, the Japan government was no longer able to fund the temporary housing, and they've actually put the people back into the radiation zone. So we've lost touch with those people. So, but we're still in touch with the kids, and we've been doing missions up there about 3 or 4 times a year. And with this COVID thing now, we're gonna have to wait till maybe, hopefully June. Hopefully June we can move and get the kids. This year we didn't get to go up there yet, so we need to get there. And we're probably gonna do only 2 trips this year. Maybe probably hit January to June, kids' birthdays, buy all those shoes, bring it up, and then maybe in December get the kids at January to December. So we'll see. It might have to even be maybe January to August. I'm not sure, depending when this whole thing clears up. But still doing that is something that I enjoy doing, and something that I will continually do until until my physical life is over.
That's an amazing thing to see. Again, in this time, you don't tend to hear of many people doing things like that. Very selfless act to be willing to do things. It's really, really like a sentiment to yourself to be willing to do that a couple of times a year. I saw recently, I think it was on your Facebook, obviously during this Corona thing at the moment, that you've started work on a second book. Is that going to be sort of a follow-on to the first one? Obviously, live as a man, die a man, become a man. That covered quite a large part of your career. What sort of things are you looking at adding to that?
Yeah, so what I did with it was my life, just not only the fighting. My life is a real interesting, exciting life that I thought that there's a lot of trials and experiences that I went through that I feel that I want to share, because I think that a lot of people can learn from it. So my book was written from my upbringing to I was hoping to get to present, but when I was writing the book, I realized that I think I covered up until maybe 2005. I realized that the book was getting too long. So I decided to close it off right there and continue on with book 2. So it's going to just continue on from 2005. So it's kind of interesting because book 2 will cover, I think, the last fight that I had with Enson. I made a comeback after prison. It'll cover my prison term. It'll cover the Shikoku pilgrimage that I walked. And I think it'll also cover some of my missions up north into the I actually went into the radiation zone to try and feed the animals. So it's going to cover, it'll cover more of after fight Enson. So it'll be interesting because a lot of people like the controversial stories that I had with the Yakuza and stuff. So there's so many stories that when I wrote the book, I thought I got them all. And then when I start writing again, book 2, I'm like, oh, damn, I didn't write about this, or I didn't write about this. So a lot of those stories are going to be added in as I go on the timeline.
Oh, that's really good. For anyone that's not seen it, I'll put a link to the first book in the comment section below. This is the book we're talking about. Absolutely fascinating book. It's probably the best MMA one I personally read myself.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I mean, as you say, I mean, you have had probably one hell of an interest in life. You know, right from start up until the end of the book, it was one of those page turners that you struggle to put down. You know, so definitely looking forward to that second one to see what goes on next.
And just to note, the book, there's no bullshit in it. There's no exaggerations. Everything is as is. And I mean, to a point where all the names of all the people, the Yakuzas that I encountered, their names, their family names, everything's like, there's nothing that's changed or fake. So when you read that, remember that everything's, I mean, you can find the guy that I wrote about in that certain story. I can actually even have a picture and take a picture. This is the guy. You know, sometimes when I run into those people that are in the book, I actually take a picture with them and I write that in my social media. Like, this guy is in my book. This is the guy I was talking about in the book on this page, you know? So, yeah. So it's really interesting. It's real. It's really real.
I think that's what's so good about it. It strikes you as being real as well. I mean, you can read some books and you think, oh, I'm not really sure about that. But that wasn't something I actually felt during this. I mean, it was something I almost like I had the picture in my own head of what you would have been doing and how you would have been at that point. Before we sign off, one last thing I'd just like to go into. Obviously, you have your own business on the go at the moment now. You make, I'm not sure what the proper term, probably bracelets would it be? Do you want to?
Power Stone bracelets.
That's it. Yeah, the Power Stones. Yeah, that's the ones. Do you want to go into that a little bit? Just let people know about it, where they can sort of look for that sort of thing if they wanted to.
Yeah, they're all real Power Stones, so they're all gemstones. I go and pick them out all myself. There's some very rare ones. There's some, you know, they're really different stones, and I make them. I'll personally make all of them myself. So they believe that the energy of the maker goes into the bracelet. And in Japan, when I had these bracelets, I started wearing them because it's a sort of protection. You know, if you Google Power Stones, there's a lot of properties in them. And I honestly didn't know about the properties, and I know about them now, and I'm learning about them now. And a lot of the properties, we're having a lot of good testimonials of it actually helping customers. But my basic idea about wearing the bracelet was, they believe in Japan that if the bracelet breaks, it's taken something that was supposed to come to you. So I really was interested after a car accident. I got into a car accident where I totaled my Mercedes-Benz, and I got a fat lip from the airbag. I mean, 2 airbags popped out. I had an S600 Mercedes-Benz 4-door, huge Benz, and I totaled it. It was beyond repair, and the only thing that happened to me was my bracelet broke. So right there, I was, you know, fiction or, you know, just chance or coincidence, whatever it is, I decided that I want to always keep one on, and that's the reason why I started wearing them. And so they're a source of protection. And if you Google Power Stones, they have different properties that gives you energy, helps ailments, you know. So I believe it works. I believe in the stones. And if you're interested, you can take a look at it. It's on my website, destinyforever.com. And personally, it's me and my girl that's looking at the page. You send the email with a question, that's us. It also has a link to the missions, a link to all the other stuff that we do. So look at whether you look at the bracelets or not, go take a look at my page, destinyforever.com, and check out all the other links to all the other media. It has all my media stuff. And when we get the link to this, we'll put that up on the page. Everyone can go to all the links of all the podcasts I've done. So check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'll link all that into the comment section of the interview when it goes up on YouTube, and everyone can have a look at that for themselves. Well, look, Enson, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I really appreciate you doing this with us today.
Right on.
Really, really interesting to have this conversation with you, and I just wish you all the best in the future. I hope everything goes the way you want it to.
All right, man. Thank you. You too, and you take care during this pandemic, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Enson.
And anytime you need me to interview or podcast, just let me know. Contact me, and I'm here, man.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.